Yes, hello tradies. It is season 3. It is episode 31.
Wow.
And it is the start, as you hear the wow from my co-host, Mitchell, the start of the trade period, essentially. I mean, I know it doesn't technically start till next Monday. It's been going all year, let's be honest. And we are here, thanks to the great people at St Andrews Beach Brewery, their new brewery at Melbourne Park, the only place to be before a game at the G. We've got our live show Thursday, October 16. Spoke to the brewery today. They are pumped. Ticket sales have already kicked off. Well, it's going to be bigger and better than the last live show. Welcome to you, Mitchell.
They've come off a big September. Hello to you, Sam. And we're going to be the main centrepiece attraction in October.
I like it.
Get the play on words there. Centrepiece is next door to...
I understand. Yeah. You've come in a bit flat tonight. Are you?
In what way?
Are you okay? I know it was a tough...
I walked in and you got a smirk on your face.
Tough weekend for Geelong supporters.
No, I don't wear that at all these days.
A little bit. Internally. A little bit.
No, not really. I went down to the fan day in a working capacity on Sunday. Quite a turnout than had they have won, let's just say. But they are very optimistic about going again next year, and they've only missed finals twice in the last 19 seasons, so you can understand why.
It's pretty remarkable. I had a quick think of it through the tradies lens today when I was doing some notes. So the players that the grand final teams got from other clubs, it's quality over quantity, but it's the guys that just change footy clubs. So like Brisbane had Charlie Cameron, Lachie Neale, and then Darcy Fort. So Lachie Neale was a really good player at Freo, coming off 2 back-to-back BNFs, turned him into a 2-time Brownlow medalist. Charlie Cameron was a really good small forward on the verge of becoming a great small forward at Adelaide, ended up becoming probably one of the better small forwards in the last 50 years in the game.
Has his performance on the weekend, you were questioning his spot on the A-grade whiteboard.
It's a good thing I didn't take him.
Has the grand final turned that?
And
our grand finals weighted more in the A-grade world?
Thank you for your questions, and I'll take them under advisement. Darcy Fort, I thought, was in the best 5 players on the ground.
He gave the Cats a bath.
Yeah, he did. Yep, he did. And I wasn't even sure he was capable of a performance like that. And then you look at Geelong, and they kind of...
Hang on, did we mention Dunkley?
Oh, and sorry, of course, Josh Dunkley.
Won a BNF at the Dogs in his last year.
Yep, sorry, I actually
2 years in a row tried to get out.
Yep.
Did you mention Neil?
Lachie Neale, yep.
Yep.
Just talked about it.
Was there someone else in there?
I don't believe so. And then Geelong, Danger, Baz Lenker, Jack Martin, Stengel, and Jez Cameron all kind of speak for themselves. I mean, I know Jack Martin's been a fringe player mainly because of his injuries at 3 different clubs. Smith finished third in a Brownlow. They gave pick 16 for him. Stengel, we know his story very well. And, Jeremy Cameron is going to go down as one of the best forwards the game's ever seen.
Just the other line as well, technically, Kalachi. It feels like he's been around a long time in the Lions, but he was at the Suns as well.
Yes, and Archie.
And could well be on his way to the Crows by the end of the week.
Yeah, so talk us through that.
Well, the Crows have presented a strong offer to him, and he's strongly considering it. I think he'd be more favoured to be a Crow next year than a Lion.
Wow. So we're 60-40, are we?
Yeah, even 70-30.
And then I just had a quick look at Hawthorn and Collingwood. So Hawthorn had 9 from other clubs playing their prelim. Ginnivan, Gunston, Chol, Amon, D'Ambrosio, Impey, Barris, Battle, Scrimshaw. And Collingwood had 7. Frampton, Houston, Crisp, Schultz, Cameron, Lipinski and Membry, and then McStay and Will Hoskin Elliott were emergencies. So, I mean, it's not as though I'm splitting the atom saying this, but the teams that can, A, attract players from other clubs, but B, get the most out of them when they do. I mean, the vast majority of those players I just mentioned have all played their best footy at the second clubs.
Yeah.
So it's a good tick for your environment when guys get better. And then the other of it is like, how many players can you mention from those clubs off the top of your head that have left to other clubs and gotten better? It's not a whole heap.
Off the top of my head.
Collingwood have, Heath Shaw, Daisy, Grundy, Trelaw. None of those guys got better. Heath Shaw maybe, but he was a very good player at Collingwood.
Yep.
Hawthorn, how many have left Hawthorn in the last 10 years and become better players? Not many leave Geelong and get better.
Jack Gunson left and he got better coming back.
Yeah.
The other one, I was going through the Fremantle backline because I want to talk about Judd McVie a little bit later in the show, but Jordan Clark was an All-Australian this year, having left Geelong.
Yep.
I think he'd be handy in that Cats lineup.
Yep.
John Noble probably had a better year at the Suns than he would have at the Pies, but we're splitting hairs there. Just going through some former Collingwood players.
Jared Witts.
Jared Witts is
Yes.
probably the one. Yeah.
That's very good, Ling.
Yep, became captain of another club, best and fairest winner.
Jack Redden won a flag leaving Brisbane as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, not a bad one. And then I just did a quick list of, before we get to some of the big names, I want to talk about obviously Petracca and Merrett. Did a quick list of the ruckmen that have been discussed, frequently in the last
The Ruck merry-go-round.
few weeks as the ones that are, potentially on the move. And so there's 7 really. Draper, Cox, Marshall, De Koning, Sean Darcy, Reeves, Heath.
So Max Heath is going to leave St Kilda to go to Melbourne.
Yep. Bit of backup
Yep.
for Max. Go on.
Good time to be going to Melbourne as a backup for Max, I reckon.
Yeah, you agreed.
They've tried a few guys in the last 3 or 4 years, but Max is still a very good ruckman, but he hasn't got a lot left in the tank.
Well, we probably said that 12 months ago when he's just one
Yeah,
his
but
8th best and fairest blazer. But I take your point.
Yeah.
So of those 7, Mitchell, if you are picking a ruckman to ruck for your team tomorrow,
Of the 7 you named,
yeah, who are you picking first?
TDK.
Okay. I had him 3rd.
Don't tell me you got Mason Cox above him.
I do.
Are we doing this again?
Well, I don't. Since we last had this argument, he kicked 2 goals in a prelim and was one of the players keeping them in the game. The opinion has
I
only
did not
aged,
expect to walk in on
has
another
only
Mason
aged
Cox.
well.
Another Mason Cox love fest today.
I think Sean Darcy's the best ruckman of those 7.
When he's out there,
Yeah. I know it's hard with his injury profile.
TDK's earning probably double more than the next on that list. What about Marshall?
Yeah, I had Marshall 4th, but close. He's a hard one because he might end up being the best ruckman of the lot in the right system if he's able to ruck for the majority.
So you're telling me...
Haven't seen enough of Reeves, haven't seen enough of Heath. I don't rate Draper like others do.
He's part of the Producy Clubby Sports family.
And I love him for that. But, we are here to say what we think based without fear or favour.
Geez, there's a few threads I want to pick up there. Should we talk about the Lions? Can we just delve into them? So, you know how obsessed I am with premiership teams and successful teams with the amount of players they have playing above their contract value.
Yes.
But it is incredible to fathom that Brisbane won a flag on the weekend with 2 key forwards on a combined $400,000 in the season 2025. So Ty Gallop playing as a first-year key forward and Logan Morris as a second-year key forward. And they've held up to win a flag against Geelong, who are long been regarded as having one of the better backlines in the competition. Now, neither shot the lights out on Saturday at the MCG, but they're both premiership players, and Logan Morris is for the second time.
And both of them helped get Brisbane there.
Yep.
Great season.
Yep. When Eric Hitwood went down, didn't
that's right.
have any say in the final series.
Yep.
So Hitwood's out with ACL surgery. He'll be back at some point next year. He's got a few years left on that long-term contract.
And they lost Danaher with a year left on his deal,
Yeah.
which still gets forgotten about.
Yep. If Brisbane had their time again, and you fast forward to January, February, March, when the Oscar Allan talks really ramped up, would they have pursued Oscar had they known what they know now? Do you think?
Probably not. But it's a great question.
So they're going to commit to Oscar Allan as a free agent. That money is locked in. So there's no manoeuvring. Once you sign that and commit to that free agency deal, there's no manoeuvring. We all spoke about the buddy deal. When the money came, it was locked in. It wasn't being able to be massaged. Same with Draper. Now, I know you've said you believe Oscar McInerney's going to retire. I think it's been on the cards for a while. It's something they'll work through in the next few weeks. Darcy Fort played a really good grand final and a really strong final series, I believe. And they're bringing Draper in. You're going to get to a stage in the next 3-4 years where you've got a Will Ashcroft coming out of contract in 26 as a 2-time Norm Smith medalist. You're going to have to pay Wilmot. Rayner's on a good deal now. Hugh McCluggage is just signed until 2031. Dan Annable is an academy kid coming in. He's going to need to be paid in time.
What's Fletcher's deal?
Fletcher's just signed this year for the next, I believe, 4 years.
He's
so
a freak.
That's going to have to be worked in. Logan Morris has just signed. He's going to have to be sorted.
Fletcher might be the best of the lot of them,
Yeah, and Levi Ashcroft as well. So, yes, they've got the Danaher money, and yes, Archie probably goes, and Starcevich looks like he's also on the way out, given he's got to this point of the season and yet to re-sign. So they do have the capacity to do it now. But what does that mean for 3-4 years down the track?
Yeah.
And I think that means, and allows clubs to come hard for a Zach Bailey in the next 12 months, who will be a free agent at the end of next season.
Good problems to have, though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Every good team
for sure
that has gone through success in the last 20 years
Yeah.
has had to deal with this. Geelong being one of them.
But these guys have high-end
Richmond being
talent.
one of them. Yep.
These guys have high-end talent in the under 26, 27 age bracket. I think a lot of those clubs you mentioned, their best players were pushing 30 at the time. Like a lot of this Brisbane talent is under 27.
Yeah. Well, 3 teenagers on the weekend.
Yeah.
Become premiership players.
So in the last couple of years, they've had McCluggage, Rayner, Morris and Lohman, just to name a few, all knock back bigger offers to stay at the Lions. Now Zach Bailey's going to be in the next 6 to 12 months, he's going to have to work through the same. You would think with what Brisbane, now I don't know what the offer is for Zach Bailey, but with where their list demographic is at and the quality they're already paying, he's going to have to leave $200,000, $300,000, potentially $400,000 a season on the table if he's to stay at the Lions.
I think you have to, though.
Well,
if you're chasing success.
these are the conversations that premierships are built around.
You either want you want to be contending consistently, or you take the risk for the cash.
Yeah. Because on the weekend, Morris and Gallup were out there. Sam Marshall's a first-year player. He's a premiership player now.
Yep.
Lester's playing less than AFL average. Darcy Gardner, Darcy Fort, Bruce Reveal, Oscar McInerney, Kalachi wouldn't be on mega bucks. But you forget about the guys they've got out of their side at the moment. Payne, Lincoln McCarthy, Hipwood, these guys. So, yes, they've got some young players playing, but there's still some very good players getting good money on that list.
We have to talk about your man. I know this is going to be tough for you.
Max Holmes.
Yeah. It's tough to watch on the weekend.
I was actually coming in here thinking we've had the Max Holmes Bailey Smith debate all year. Who played a better grand final?
Well, it's not even a conversation, is it? It was quite clearly Bailey.
Do you reckon?
I'm a big fan of Max.
Yeah.
He butchered the footy.
He butchered the footy.
And
Bailey
really hurt Geelong.
This is not me defending Max by any stretch, but Bailey didn't kick it a whole heap better.
Yeah, but he played a much better game.
It's an interesting debate.
You can't be an A grader and turn the ball over like that. That's what's holding him back, his disposal. Because he's a line breaker.
It hasn't been a major issue all year, though.
Yeah, but he's never been a great kick.
Neither does Bailey.
No, Bailey's quite a poor kick, probably. Yeah,
Got a lot of it, Max, but his kicking was poor on the weekend.
Yeah, and it hurt them.
I thought at stages on Saturday Harris Andrews was in the hoops, the amount of times they were kicking it to him.
Yeah. Well, the Andrews was really good. I think he was in my votes. All right, Zach Merrett. So he'll win his 6th best and fairest on Friday.
Yep. So you and I spoke last week when the Andrew Welsh news dropped.
Yes.
That Dave was replacing Dave Barham.
Yeah, and so did you, because you must have got in the car here and gone out to Essendon.
And spoke to Andrew.
And spoke to Andrew Welsh, because that story broke. And I was like, who interviewed him? I was like, your man Mitch. I was like,
Yeah.
geez, he must have drove quick out to tell him.
Yeah, and from here, you can
Thought Seven might have sent a helicopter.
You can get a good run.
Okay.
Speaking of helicopters, did you see Bailey Smith's Instagram today? No. I know you're not on Instagram. So a couple of the Cats players, Ollie Dempsey and Sam DeConey.
Turned up in the Aston Martin. Yeah, I was excited about that for the car.
And then Bailey shared that saying, at Charlie Curnow, we'll rock up in the helicopter next year.
Oh, nice.
It was only up for a couple of minutes and then it got taken down.
Oh, he took it down?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, there would have been a few people in his ear, I reckon, to take it. It wasn't the only post he took down today.
No, I heard, yeah.
So, back to Andrew Welsh. He's adamant that Zach Merrett is not going anywhere.
Yeah, but okay, I'll let you
No,
go.
I'm just... He had the chance to leave wiggle room there.
No, but
he didn't.
It doesn't need to leave wiggle room. It's got a contract.
Yeah.
Like, this is what really annoys me. And maybe it's because I have no soul and am very cynical. But when people like Andrew Welsh come out and say things like that,
Who's the new president of Essendon?
people seem to go, I don't know, Link, if this is what the average footy fan goes. People seem to go, oh, well, that's it.
No.
Trade over. Well, she says he's not going. That's it.
I think people have come to learn, listening to this show, that the Dan Houston debacle of last year and the Tom Barras saga.
I'm going to say this
It's not as easy as that.
one more time, clearly, just in case people have missed it. What clubs say about players and trade does not matter.
Well, what I would say, Petracca, for example, last year Melbourne were adamant that he wasn't going anywhere. This year,
And then he did the hostage video.
But it's softened this year.
Yeah, we'll get to Christian. So Hawthorn and Essendon have not spoken at this point. People at Hawthorn...
Should they have spoken though?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question.
It's a bit of a Mexican standoff.
People at Hawthorn
Essendon aren't picking up the phone.
People at Hawthorn have assured me that there will be no conversation that happens before the best and fairest. Now,
The Essendon Best and Fairest, which is Thursday, or the Hawthorn Best and Fairest, which is Saturday?
Essendon Thursday or Friday?
Thursday.
Okay. Sorry, I think I said Friday. Thursday. I get the sense, again, this is just the cynic in me, that Hawthorn are stage producing this. And we'll just wait till the best and fairest. And then...
That's going to add another bit of heat on Zach. He won't feel welcome. It's going to be a bit more Essendon can't keep him.
Maybe. And I think by probably latest Monday, which is when the trade period officially starts, my gut feel is there'll be some sort of email press release dropped from Essendon. It's, we've seen a million times over. Zach Merrett has today informed the club that he wishes to be traded to Hawthorn.
Has he not sort of done that already?
But he can't. But the club can't officially say that before the best and fairest because it's too messy. It's too messy for the Knights. Too messy for the sponsors. What if he doesn't turn up? Blah blah blah. So it's all play the game, and then the statement will say Essendon have reminded Zach that he's contracted for a further 2 seasons and he will not be traded under any circumstances. So then that's the first kind of the first domino to drop, and then negotiations start. Then Hawthorn can sit down with Essendon and say, okay, well, what's your opening offer? And, Essendon's opening offer should be, I want this year's first rounder, next year's first rounder. I want Josh Ward and Mitch Lewis.
Yeah,
that should be their opening offer.
Or do they just not even respond? They say he's contracted, he's not going anywhere.
But see, here's the thing. Are Essendon going to be stronger in the next 10 years by getting the most out of a Zach Merrett deal, or are they going to be stronger by keeping Zach at the club for the next 2 years?
Oh, no doubt long term. But it's more than... It's the whole...
It's what it means. It's the optics.
For the club, yeah. He's your captain. If he walks out, what does that mean for Langford in 12 months? What does that mean for Ben Mackay? What does that mean for Redmond?
But doesn't it mean that you're creating you want to create a strong enough environment where you want players to stay? Ultimately, that's what it is, right?
Yeah, but Essendon will think, well, Zach's done this before. He's looked around before and he's committed and stayed at Essendon. We feel we can turn him around in the next 8 weeks.
Yep.
That's what their narrative will be. Now, I don't believe that, but that's what they'll be saying.
Mm. Have you got a percentage for me?
Oh.
Assuming the two options are only Essendon or Hawthorn.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably sitting on the fence. I think there's still a chance she stays at Essendon.
Yeah, but what chance?
55-45.
Okay. I'm saying 85-15.
To go?
Yep.
You think Essendon will relent?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think deep down, under all the layers of pain that surround Essendon, I think deep down they know it too.
Mm.
And I think deep down as much
Ask me that again next Monday, Tuesday when we record this.
Okay.
After the BNF and we get a sense on what's happening in that room.
Are you going to go to the BNF Thursday?
Probably.
In a working capacity, or will you be invited as an official attendee?
I haven't been invited that I can recall, but I believe I will be there in a working capacity at least.
Interesting.
You?
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Are we doing... Because we normally start with a bit of what's happening in the week, and you got pretty heavy on us with the list comparisons. So can we can we just get into the invites and seating arrangements? So you kicked up a bit of a stink with your seating at the Brownlow this time last week. You're all dragging your heels. There's thousands of people out there that would love to go to the Brownlow.
Oh God, I can't wait. If you really want to start this argument, I can't wait.
And then I saw you at a lunch 48 hours later at the MCG. I wandered in. I thought, shit, Sam's in a pretty good spot. So I get the sense that the people at the Victorian Chamber of Commerce who hosted said lunch at the MCG on Wednesday afternoon are big readers of The Age, and they thought, shit, we can't be on the receiving end of this treatment. We need to bump Sam up the pecking order and move him a little bit closer to the front of the stage. Would I be anywhere near the money there?
I have no idea. I didn't speak to anyone.
You didn't get that vibe when you walked in?
I go to these lunches and I look up at the screen and I look for McClure and I look for the number. That's all I do. That's all I do. And I just go where I'm told.
You would have been stoked though, like you're a bit closer than me.
I was working. I was writing about things.
That was my other question. So it's been a few people, Adam Simpson and Nathan Buckley in the last week, kick up a stink that they've been written off at lunches. Do you think that these lunches where people are paid, so Adam Simpson and Nathan Buckley were paid to be there in front of an active footy audience in grand final week, should they be written off in those environments?
I think if you're at a lunch with 500 people, of which many might be journalists or working media, I'm not saying everything should just be, carte blanche up for grabs. But I think if you're taking a check and you're speaking in a room like that, I think you just got to hope for the best and expect the worst, right?
Especially in Adam Simpson's position when
Yeah.
he knew that and made fun of the journos in the room. And,
Yeah,
and pointed
yeah, yeah.
and had a bit of, no, not made fun of, but he had a,
Called us reptiles, yep.
yeah.
Now, I think if you were doing let's say a company puts together an intimate lunch inside a room.
Yeah, if there's
And
30
there's 25 people there, and, I'm just picking someone, for example. Let's say it was Simon Goodwin gave a blow-by-blow recount of the night that he got sacked. If that turned up in the media, I think if I was Simon Goodwin, I would have every right to be upset.
How about if it turned up in the media on background, like information rather than direct quotes?
Yeah, well, then you've got to. I think if you're accepting money, you've got to be prepared for that. I think.
And were you the one that was interviewing Bucks, which led to the comments around Merrett?
Yep.
And you've discussed this on this show before around Merrett, having met with Bucks.
Yeah.
It was not as if it was anything groundbreaking.
No. I think not to speak on Nathan's behalf, but he was probably disappointed that because I said something like, "Well, he met with you," and then his response was, "Well, it sounds like he met with every fucking club."
Yeah.
And everyone laughed, but that was the headline, and it was, one small quote in a 20-minute panel.
Yeah.
And I think he wasn't necessarily upset that the quote made its way out there, more that just he felt like it was written in a way which was headliney or
Clickbaity.
that was clickbaity.
Yeah.
But again,
If you're in the room, you would have read it a different way.
yeah, and that's probably true. However, we don't get to control how people write stuff.
Yeah.
Jackie Epstein's been doing these lunches for 20 years.
Yeah.
There's a reason that the Herald Sun sent her there is because she often comes back with a good story.
There's a reason she gets invited to these places.
Yeah, that's right. So you want the people that pay these guys, they want the money as well.
Yeah.
But so I saw both sides. Should we talk about Christian Petracca?
Yep.
So he arrives in Adelaide today, being Monday. We're recording a night early.
Yep.
Because Mitch is too busy for me. He arrives with Bella, his wife, and Anna Scully, his new manager.
Yes.
Wife of Eddie Betts,
Who knows Adelaide very well.
who knows Adelaide particularly well. Probably has some memories that she'd rather forget there. But anyway, we digress. So how funny, how interesting that Anna Scully, who has been with an Adelaide footballer during his career for a long period of time, the best part of a decade, I'd suggest. And, Eddie, who has recounted this stuff in his book, so I'm not saying anything that people don't know, is being very open about the devastating circumstances in which forced him to leave Adelaide and go back to Carlton. She is now representing a guy who's very much being considered by Adelaide and who is considering Adelaide in turn to go there. And this is her first real deal as a player manager.
Yeah.
If this had happened 12 months ago, this would have been Paul Connors or Robbie D'Orazio on behalf of Christian Petracca.
It makes a lot of sense to me for the Crows.
Right.
Their midfield was shown up in the two finals. And I think if you add Petracca to the mix of Dawson, Peatling, Rankin, and Sid Draper, who I think will be a player in time, taken in top 5 of last year's draft, which is going to be seen as a very strong draft in time, is a fantastic addition to that midfield. He can go forward. Tex, I believe, he's going to play on, and everyone around him believes that. He is. So we've buried the lead there.
I'm happy to take the apology now.
We can get to Tex in a minute.
I'm happy to take it.
The Suns are also keen on Christian. There's no meeting planned yet that I'm aware of, but they're keen to sit down with him. I think
Geez, he'd be good at Gold Coast.
he would, but don't they sort of have a Christian in Bailey like a future Christian in Bailey Humphrey?
You never have too many.
I think the Crows would be a better fit. He'd also work well at the Suns, but I think the Crows would. They're minor premiers this year. I think they'd go to new heights with Christian in that team.
Who's closer to a premiership?
Crows.
If you add in Petracca?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
You?
I think Gold Coast.
If you add Petracca?
Yeah. I think Gold Coast could be scary good next year, depending on what happens with Walter. I think they've got all the pieces.
The winner of the grand final sprint, Jed Walter. I didn't think he had that in his kit bag. He got going.
Yeah, I had a bit of information reach my desk early in grand final week that Jed Walter was basically an absolute certainty to win the grand final sprint, and I thought the exact same thing as you initially.
Never
never
seen his slow.
He's athletic,
Yeah.
and he's dynamic, but straight line running, it was like, okay.
Those key forwards usually good 20, 40 metre
And then I was watching the odds slowly come in and in and in all week, and I thought,
That Mail's doing the rounds.
interesting. And then I watched him because he would have been sitting like 2 rows in front of me. So he turned up to the game with his kit bag, like ready to get changed. And then when he came back, I think it must have been his mum he was sitting with. And just like the reception that he got when he took his seat halfway through the third quarter, like the whole bay just erupted. It was actually so funny.
Is the grand final sprint a bit like the Legends game? There's varying levels of care
interest.
factor
Yeah, I think
for players.
I think that's
some guys
probably
just get
fair.
the check.
Yeah.
Some guys want to win it.
Yeah. It used to be more prestigious, I feel like.
We can't have Harry Garside run around in the grand final sprint.
No.
Come on.
No. That's probably true. Mind you, I didn't think we'd, still be doing grand final entertainment at 1:30, but here we are.
What did you make of him?
11 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to know in the stadium. I still haven't had a chance to watch it back from
He was so
the
good.
broadcast.
Yeah. Apart from the fact that they wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars putting on fireworks in the middle of the day that no one could see, I thought it was amazing.
That was the colour. They had the colour firework or whatever they're called. There was colour. It wasn't just fireworks. There was like what was the?
Yeah, but you couldn't see him.
She could. There was blue and yellow going off on him.
Oh, please. Couldn't see anything. I thought he was great.
So does Tex, when he plays on in the 19th season next year, retain his spot on the A-grade whiteboard?
I can't. I need, after trade period, I'm going to get on a plane to the middle of nowhere somewhere.
Where are you going?
And think about absolutely nothing. And then when I come back and I get my thoughts together and my notes, me and the whiteboard will sit down and we'll talk about it. I can't confirm whether Tex will remain on the A-graders list. How many goals did he kick this year?
Let's have a look at that.
Thank you. Link?
39.
39. Does 39 keep him on the list? Don't know. 39 goals for a team that finished top of the ladder. First final, very good.
Second final, not so good.
Had a lot of friends that didn't have had a not so good final.
Yeah. So just a few others.
Hang on, sorry. Just before we get off track.
Yeah.
What's he worth? This is the
So
hardest
the
part.
Crows taking on his full wage.
I'll ask you in 2 different ways. What's he worth right now, purely, what you and I always do, as a selection in the draft and as what you'd pay him in TPP, not thinking about what he's on now, what his contract is, what's he worth?
So his contract expires into 2029.
Yeah, but don't think about his contract.
Okay.
How old is he? 28.
No, he's a bit older than that.
Or is he 29?
Let's have a look.
He's not yet 30.
He'll turn 30 on January 4.
Okay, right.
So he
there
starts
you go.
round
So
one
a
as
year
a
older than I thought he was,
30-year-old.
You're
He's
out
worth a first round and a second round pick.
Jeez, okay.
Just forgetting about the wage.
Yeah. And then what would you pay him?
850, 900 grand.
Yeah. Okay. So we're on a similar path with wage. I think he's about a $900,000 player.
And he's on upwards of 1.2
Yeah. I'd give
for 4 more years.
I'd give my first pick for him. That's it.
And take on the money?
Well, no, I'm saying if it was,
Yep.
I'd
Just
give
the player?
say pick 15
Yep.
and 900 grand.
Yep.
Now the conversation now changes because we know what he's on.
Yep.
So if I'm Adelaide, I'm offering my first pick, and I'm offering to pay 400. Sorry, I'd want Melbourne to pay 400 of the 1.2.
Yep.
So I'd pay 8.
And what if Melbourne said, no, you can have him, but you've got to take on the full whack.
For pick 15.
But you've said 115 for...
Yeah.
Are you pushing that to something in the early 20s?
Yeah, probably.
Mid-20s?
So you think, if you were Melbourne, would you ask for more than a first round pick?
Yeah, for sure. He's a best and fairest winner, All-Australian, Norm Smith medalist.
Yeah, but there's a lot of unanswered questions about Christian.
Yeah.
I still can't work out
finished
how he
second in the
finished
BNF,
second in
which
the BNF.
might have been a little bit...
I'm still trying to work out. I'm
skewed.
still trying to work out how he finished second in the best and fairest.
Ahead of Cozzy.
How could anyone sit there and think that Christian Petracca had a better year than Cozzy Pickett?
Melbourne might have been bottom 2 this year without Cozzy.
It's one of the more remarkable things I can remember in footy.
So the thing with the Crows and the Crows are all in now, so picks don't matter to them, and the Suns have heaps of picks. Now they need to keep a few of them to get the two top 5 or 6 kids they've got coming in, Zeke Yorland and Dylan Patterson. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch.
And Charlie Curnow is still, insistent that he wants to get out of the Carlton Football Club.
And Andrew Mackey I spoke to on Sunday at that Cats Family Day, and for the first time Geelong sort of admitted that they are after him.
Yep.
And he put the ball back in Carlton's court saying, well, it's up to Carlton to determine the market. I'm paraphrasing, but we're keen, but at a certain level. And if it's out of the possibility, we're going to pull out. That's what they say.
Yep. And
I still think Sydney's the most likely and the club with the most assets to get it done.
Yeah, but Sydney won't want to trade anything. Sydney have already told Carlton they won't trade.
But what will Geelong trade?
Blakey. What? I don't know. Again, I think we discussed this last week. I just, unless it's Jed Walter, I don't see any market that gets the Curnow deal over the line.
And they're not going to trade Bailey Humphrey. I think there'd be 10 clubs flying to Gold Coast tomorrow if Bailey Humphrey was half the sniff to leave, but the Suns are adamant he's not going anywhere.
So let's just create a fake world, a fake universe for a second. And let's just say that on Monday when trade period hit, Charlie Curnow got traded to the Gold Coast Suns for Bailey Humphrey. Who wins that trade?
Oh. It's pretty even.
Because I think Humphrey might be worth more in a trade. But I think
Curnow's the better player in 2026.
I think Curnow playing for Gold Coast in 2026 could almost be the difference.
Bailey's...
Whereas Humphrey playing decent footy at Carlton becomes harder in a forward line that just has Harry Mackay.
But the hope for Bailey is he wants to be a centre bounce mid. He wants to be a Petracca in time, not just a forward.
But he could do that at Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Like he's learning from two of the all-time greats.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All-time greats. He's learning from two guys that will like to see themselves as all-time greats by the end of their careers in Rowell and Anderson. Anyway, just a thought.
It's a fake world because I don't think the Suns are letting Bailey go.
It is in fact a fake world. And
it is, or just this?
No. Well, both. Both. I created a fake world. The world that we are currently living in is, for all intents and purposes, fake as well.
So best and fairest. So Hawks are best and fairest on Saturday.
Yep. And then James Warple gets to finally go to Geelong after that. That'd be good.
Because he was waiting for the Cats to finish the grand final, or more the Hawks.
Waiting for Hawks BNF.
Essendon's BNF on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Collingwood's best and fairest on Friday.
Yep.
So Brody Myercheck still hasn't given anyone an answer as of 7 o'clock Monday night.
Probably means he's going.
Yeah. Jamie Elliott.
Yep.
I think Jamie Elliott's preferred scenario would be to stay at Collingwood. But he's been a little bit peeved with the offer.
Okay. Gold Coast likely place if he goes?
Gold Coast are waiting in the wings.
He'd be great at Gold Coast.
Yeah.
He'd be lethal at Gold Coast.
Yep. And then this week I think we'll get Sam Flanders' decision as well, which, if we're talking Petracca, does that open up a passage there if he does choose to go to Melbourne?
You think it's Melbourne over the Saints?
I think Melbourne are well and truly still in it.
Yeah, but in front of St Kilda?
The Saints offer's stronger, but the Melbourne link with Stephen King's pretty good. So Just a matter of whether Sam. I don't know. Sam hasn't decided yet, but whether Sam values the relationship and the knowledge of the coach or the better financial deal.
So if you're Collingwood, and back to our fake world that we created, if Myercheck and Elliott both go, which is a chance,
It is a chance.
right? What are they in 2026? They're McStay and Membry, and I'm a bit confused. And Cox is not going to be there, it sounds like. Which is just...
You had him in the top. You had him as the best ruckman.
Yeah,
on
but
the
I
market.
also read Cal Toomey in AFL.com says he's been told to look around.
Well, because they haven't given him a deal, so of course he's going to look around.
Yeah, but I'm just... Why aren't Collingwood just re-signing him?
You said he'd hit a trigger though.
Well, I believe he has.
So what does he need? Look around there? Is he signed or not?
Well, you'd have to talk to Collingwood, but there's differing versions of events depending on who you speak to as to whether Mason's got a guaranteed contract at Collingwood next year. But there just doesn't seem
Is
to
it a
be a
club
lot
option?
of love being felt for Mason.
Apart from here.
Apart from here. I did have someone at one of these many lunches that we've been talking about. Someone came up to me. I think this person may have been slightly inebriated at the time. And said, mate, you've lost it about Cox. He's not even the best ruck in our team.
Why did I hear today's episode?
Well, he is the best ruckman in your team. He's a far superior tap ruckman than Darcy Cameron.
But rucking is it's all encompassing. It's not just
Yeah, it includes kicking goals in big games like he did
Yeah, but Cameron's kept Collingwood in a lot of games this year.
by floating back and
Yeah.
playing by himself at centre half-back and
Yeah.
taking marks.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't include your man Jackson, Dogger.
I think the minute that Cozzy signed and Goodwin was given the boot, I think that came to a crushing end. We haven't spoken Jai Simpkin actually.
Yes.
So we've actually, it was on my list last week. I don't know how I missed it, but we didn't talk about him. So he's contracted at North Melbourne for a long time.
4 more years.
And he's asked his management to look around and start kicking the tires on a few other clubs. Now, my understanding is that in doing so, his management said, this is going to get out and cause a headline here. You're the captain of a footy club. And he said, no, do it.
Okay.
I want you to find me a new home if possible. He wants to be a centre bounce mid. He thinks he's a centre bounce mid and did that for the All-Stars in the February game. Albeit exhibition, but against the Fremantle side. But North Melbourne are keeping on telling him that he's not going to be a lock in that centre bounce. So it's a real fascinating one as captain of the footy club. And from my numbers across the competition, he's the only he's the only captain in the game right now that is not playing in his preferred position at his own footy club.
So I'm just going to round 24, which is the last game they played, which is against
So
Adelaide.
he played a bit half forward. The last 2 or 3 games of the year, he was moved out to a wing. And
So
they were
he's
really happy at the Roos about the role he played.
So he's listed a
against
half
Tonga.
forward in the starting team.
Yeah, that doesn't mean a heap.
The midfield is Sheasel, Wardlaw, Davies, Uniacke.
Yeah. They got Finn O'Sullivan too, who's
Yep.
a top 5 pick who's going to want to be a midfielder in time.
Plus Parker came in and played a bit in that spot.
Colby McKercher, your man.
Yeah, McKercher's more a back pocket. The problem Jai's going to have is that he might not be in many teams' best starting mids. And the problem is he's leaving a team that gets hammered every week. But at the same time, on paper, their midfield is pretty stacked. Now, I've been pretty strong about North the last few. I don't think that, like, I see what they're doing with their mids, but it doesn't seem to translate on the field into great results in the midfield. So Davies Uniacke's a really good player on his day, but can go missing.
Yeah. He's on.
Sheasel has played a
1.2.
lot at halfback. Sounds like they want him to be more of a centre bounce mid. Wardlaw's injured every second week. So it's hard because, you know, if you're Jai Simpkin being like, I want to be more of a centre, well, okay, but be better then because there's opportunities for you here to be. Like, you probably should be. Now, if he's saying, well, I want to be a starting midfielder somewhere else, like, unless he wants to go to West Coast, who's crying out? I mean, maybe Melbourne?
Maybe Melbourne. What happens with Essendon, with Merrett?
Yeah, maybe Essendon at a pinch.
The issue as well on this one is he's got a lot of money on that deal.
He's on 7 figures. Or close to?
Close to it.
It's a lot of money for
think
Jai Simpkin.
if North were doing their due diligence, a lot of that would have been front-ended.
Yeah.
Given They should right now. North should be attracting star talent, which they're not.
And they haven't had to. And again, I'm not trying to be a smartass here. They haven't had to pay many
No, that's
people
what I mean.
the last 10 years because
It's
they
like
haven't had
St
many
Kilda.
talented people on it.
Front end these deals where you've got not a heap of talent
Yeah.
to open up room like St Kilda's doing now to attract it.
Yeah, I'm really worried about North because I feel like 12 months ago, people sat here and said, "Oh, I'm pretty bullish about their improvement. I see what they're doing." I didn't, and I still don't.
Yep. Mitch McGovern still hasn't got a contract from the Blues, which is interesting because Carlton's coach Michael Voss in the last round of the year said, "I want him,"
But I'm not going to pick him, so I don't have to pay him the money that triggers the
so he didn't hit
contract.
the trigger.
Yep.
So that's going to be one that will unfold. And Judd McVie has nominated Fremantle out of contract at Melbourne. Met with the new coach.
Big loss for the D's.
Yeah, I like him.
I like him too.
So the back 6 or 7 now at the Dockers will be Luke Ryan, Brennan Cox, and Alex Pearce as the 3 talls. Then you throw McVie in with Jordan Clark, Heath Chapman, and the 7th is one of Carl Warner or Corey Wagner.
Yep.
It's not a bad group
Yep.
to go with the midfield. And if the forward line can click with Amos, Tracy and Voss, it's a bit to like there.
I'm looking over at our whiteboard.
Yep.
I want you to give me one name. It could be for my list or your list. Who's your biggest watch? Who's the one that you're thinking, okay, he's the guy that could change everything?
Not change everything, but I think we've still got a lot to learn about Jack Steele.
Okay, I like it.
St Kilda's BNF is tonight, so we're speaking on Monday night.
Yep.
Keen to see what flushes out of there
I'm still Butters.
this year.
Yeah, I want to see what happens with Butters.
Okay.
I think a club will test the waters.
Does that club have 1 or 2 or 3 colours on their jumper?
I don't know. I don't know which one will test the waters.
I was hoping you'd say 2 because you think it's Hawthorn.
I didn't say that.
No, you've said that all year.
Not necessarily because of Zach Butters, but it's come across my desk that Chris Davies' start at Carlton has been quite eye-opening for people.
Is this a
Navy
different
Blue.
conversation of Butters, or are you linking the 2 here?
I'm simply just talking about. I thought about Zach and then I thought about Chris.
Because they are close.
Yep.
Would Chris have been there for Zach's entire duration?
I reckon he would have been his head of footy from when he got drafted. Yeah. But there's been some heads turned at Icon Park by Chris's ability to say things as they are and not beat around the bush.
Right. You get good mail from the corridors of Princes Park.
Okay. It is our job to get good mail.
Yeah, but that's sort of...
There have been a couple of meetings that have taken place in which
With players or...
Chris has sort of said things like, "Why is that happening?" Oh, well, we've always kind of done it this way. It's like, well, things are about to change.
Can you give me one specific?
I can't, no, because that will give away my source. Carlton wouldn't be doing their job properly if they didn't try to leverage
Curnow into Butters?
Davies' relationship with Butters. I don't know if one's going to link into the other. Got to give something to get something, but...
If you're a Carlton fan, you rocked up to the footy next year for round 1.
Yep.
Carlton Richmond.
Yep.
And you open the paper that morning and Curnow's playing for another club. But
Yep.
you've got Zach Butters running out for your team that night. Would you be happy?
I think it's sellable. I'm not necessarily saying you'd be happy because I think Charlie's a really loved member of the team. But you could sell losing Curnow for gaining Butters. I think if your starting midfield was Cripps, Walsh, Butters, and Hewitt, who's going to win a best and fairest on the bench, I think you could sell that if you're able to get, a bit of support around Harry Mackay.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah. No, I think Zach Butters is a tremendous player. Top 5 or 10 in the comp.
Yeah. Well, you don't get the opportunity many times to have a crack at those guys, do you? And look what Sam Mitchell's doing at Hawthorn. Anything else before we go?
No.
You're doing a trade show with
We
Seven?
are.
Okay. You've kept this close to your chest?
That's only sort of been worked through in the last week.
Yep. Feel like
Tuesday nights on 7, mate.
Feel like I'm being cheated on. It's tough for me to take.
You
Who's on it? Go on.
Be curious to see what I learn in the next 24 hours because we're recording at this time tomorrow.
Oh,
So like whatever I haven't said here,
if I find
up.
out if the tradies community sniffs something in the breeze that you are holding something,
that's not the
for
case.
7, there will be. I will get an independent auditor to come in here and do a full-blown investigation.
Royal Commission. Hey, just the other one we spoke about Brisbane from the grand final, but what about the Cats? Did the grand final show that they need Rowan Marshall more than ever?
It's so hard because they've done so well for so long without a true ruckman. We're going to get a bit air raid siren here, but I felt like, and I'm not privy to all the information that they had in the box, but to me, when Brisbane started blowing the game open, Blitz halves was getting murdered in the ruck by Fort. And I thought taking Stanley off was a strange move. Having said that, he wasn't having a great day.
Yeah, he wasn't having a great day. But so the end of that third quarter was Blitzarves doing most of the rucking. I can't remember.
Yeah, I reckon. Well, to my naked eye anyway.
Yeah.
So your question is, I'm trying not to avoid the question. Your question is, do Geelong look at that game and chase Marshall even harder?
Yes, that's the question.
I mean, I think the easy answer is yes, but it's hard for me to criticise the way Geelong have handled Ruckman because they continue to win.
It's a great way to look at it.
Game after game after game without a true nominated ruckman.
Yeah, they went into a grand final as favourites.
That's right.
With Reece Stanley and Mark Blitzarves as their 2 rucks.
Yeah.
Now, I think they would love Toby Conway to be ready, but he's just not, and his body keeps letting him down.
And didn't they murder Hawthorn at centre bounce the previous week in the prelim?
Yeah, they did.
Well,
Sam Mitchell was
like 20-5 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. So it's sort of like if something works really well on that day and then 7 days later it blows up in their face, it's just you've got to add balance to the conversation. I think, I look at Geelong, and you said at the start of the pod that they're as confident as ever that they'll be competing next year. Feels like they will be.
Yeah.
Having said that, Jeremy Cameron and Patrick Dangerfield both at times looked 75 on the weekend, but both were injured. So it's hard.
Bit of air raid about that one.
Oh, boy. I love when Mitch goes injury list on air raid.
No, not injury list, just injuries.
Okay. So we've got the live show coming up. That is Thursday, October 16th. So it's the day after the trade deadline. So they will be the Tradies Awards. First time for Link doing Tradies Awards.
Got a lot to look forward to, Link.
Don't say it with a... Don't. There, I saw that sarcastic smile. Don't be like that.
No, we've created about 15 awards, and I'm sure we'll have a few more this year.
Well, I would like you to create a couple. Bring your own autonomy to it. $10 ticket price. You get a pot of beer on arrival, so it's essentially free. We've got prizes and merch available, and I'm about to collect my first slab from Richo.
Oh.
Just like to announce to everyone. Very exciting. Monumental day for Tradies fans.
For those that missed it, go back to last week's episode, but it's over the Tassie Stadium.
Yep. Very excited. Very excited. Anything else on for your week that you'd like to declare? Apart from cheating on tradies with some new 7 trade show?
No, that's about it. Might go to the races this weekend.
Oh, boy. Which ones?
Don't know where they are.
Okay, probably check that.
I think I'm just dragging along. You?
Nothing from me. Very just stay under the radar sort of week for me.
No footy on this weekend. What are you going to do?
Probably what I do most weekends.
Watch movies.
I've never been so excited for there not to be footy on. So excited. But it is trade period, and we're excited for Tradies fans. We'll see you next week.